Hi, thanks for checking out my channel where we ask the question, what's that all about? So, this week it's an episode about the number three. I never thought there was so much to know about this one single number, but it has intrinsic powers and it's magical. So, wherever you see three around you, and trust me, you see it around you without even knowing it's there. It's generally an omen of creativity, communication, and curiosity. So, all good things, right? So, it shows up in daily life more than you know. So, I was surprised when I started to find the lists because they want you to have a frame of reference for this. I'm just going to run through a couple of them and see if any of them, all of them probably, ring familiar. Third time's a charm. Say it all the time. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Ready, set, go. Going, gone. Blood, sweat, and tears. 3. Tic tac toe. Even Santa. Ho, ho, ho. Do, re, mi. Peter, Paul, and Mary. Tom, Dick, and Harry. Even in the Gettysburg Address. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. So it's funny how you probably don't even realize. I mean, you just don't because it's such a natural occurrence. And then there's the silly ones that you probably just, take for granted because they're always there, right? ABCs, 1, 2, 3, Three Blind Mice, Three Musketeers, the Three Amigos, which is hysterical, the Three Bears, Three Little Pigs. And of course, I would be remiss if we left the Three Stooges off the list, so I will not do that. And also from Japan, we get from their history the see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, the little monkeys, And it's funny because do you know why these sequences keep popping up? It's because our brains love patterns, and 3 is the simplest form of a pattern. So it also connects a lot of cultures that I never would have thought of. Like, for instance, in Buddhism, there's 3 saints. They represent wisdom and awakening, compassion and kindness, rational thought and reasonability versus emotional reactions. For Catholics, it's that Holy Trinity, right? It represents the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Now, again, that has been interpreted too to represent past, present, future. So again, it's always this pattern of 3. It's like a comfort. It's like a blanket of 3. It feels good, it's comforting, and it finds its way through different cultures. Christian faith has their 3 wise men that followed a magical star in the sky to Bethlehem, where Jesus, baby Jesus, was. And they had, now I bring it up like that because, I'm an ancient alien believer, and I do believe that aliens have been with us for millions of years. So, take that for whatever that's completely an opinion. So they showed up with 3 gifts. They had gold, they had frankincense, and myrrh. Again, everything presented in 3s. It's one of those things that, if even when you go over to Egypt, right, and you've got the 3 pyramids of Giza, now they're in positions that are quite extraordinary. The purpose behind their placement is to serve as a gateway to the stars. Now, that was presented in ancient civilizations, but also by an author by the name of Robert Bauval. Okay, he pointed out that there are similarities between the layout of 3 pyramids and the relative separation of representation of Orion's belt in the sky. So his idea went mainstream in 1995, and that was when he wrote The Orion Mystery. In the same vein as this gateway to the stars, some believe that there's a portal atop the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is the largest and tallest of the 3 pyramids. And supposedly it's a link to the realm of the gods. Now, in ancient times, they described the gods as descending from the clouds in a brilliant, bright light. Stay with me. I believe that that represents, again, a correlation to ancient aliens because they probably were perceived as gods coming from the skies. Now, you can believe it, don't believe it, but I'm just saying it's important to note that. So it's also claimed that people who saw these gods claim to have achieved higher consciousness in their minds. And I bring that up because it gradually brings us right to an extraordinary phenomenon known as the third eye. And there's both science and spirituality surrounding this. I do call it a phenomenon because I'm more on the spiritual side of this. And trust me when I tell you, the science that I found, it's in lay terms because that's the way I can understand it. I'm not a scientist. I didn't do awesome in school with science. So this is the way I understood it. They speak of an egg-shaped structure within the brain that is critical in defining what it means to be human. That's a pretty big deal. The thalamus, okay? It lies in the center of the brain and is the hub and responsible for relaying information from most of the sensory receptors. Now, scientists have studied the thalamus in coma patients and have hypothesized that it might be the most important factor in connecting a human to their consciousness. So now for the other side of it, the spiritual side of it, stuff that I really like and can relate to, it's known as the cosmic egg, which I love. And in ancient cultures, the center of the head is synonymous with the center of the universe or the world, the galaxy, whatever you're comfortable with being in. Some people get actually really overwhelmed when they think about how enormous the galaxy is and the universe and all of it. Because what does that entail? I mean, it could go out. It's so expansive. It doesn't overwhelm me. It excites me. I think it's great. But, then again, I haven't traveled much by way of this gift that you apparently can possess. So third eye can give you the ability to communicate with higher spiritual realms. It's also been said that extraterrestrials and humans are connected through this third eye, and that extraterrestrials gifted this to us in order to help us communicate with them in a way that we could all understand one another. That sounds lovely if that were true. Another claim is that if you're able to access your higher consciousness, the third eye allows you to astro travel, which is something that I think would be cool. It's like you've probably heard it said as astro project or astro projection. And this can bring you into other dimensions, which I completely believe in because I think that they're running parallel to our timeline as it is. And speaking of other dimensions, I really want to talk about the witching hour, which is said to be between 3 and 4 a.m. Now, according to lores and myth, this time, 3 a.m., is when spirits, ghosts, and demons, because you got to have the good with the bad, it's the way we balance the world, are most active. It's also been reported that during this time is when you're likely to see the most paranormal and supernatural events occur. So I've done a lot of silly things like a Ouija board at 3 a.m. I do not, and I mean this seriously, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't mess with Ouija boards. They're not good. The increase in activity occurs because it's said that the separation between the living and the dead either disappears or becomes warped. Therefore, it's more easy for the living to sense a presence of the dead, but it's also when the dead can kind of mess with the living. So the give and take of the good and the bad, right? You got to take some bad with the good. Christians believe it is the devil's hour because they believe that Christ died at 3 p.m. And as most of us know, the devil works with inversions. So everything's backwards. So they also believe that this is an hour where they're the furthest from holy power, or having the protection of whatever they perceive as their God. And then spiritual, a true spiritual meaning behind this is, say, for me anyway, over the last couple months, I've been waking up at 3 a.m. or like between 3 and 3:15 every single morning without fail. I have had no idea what it's about. So I really paid attention to this part. It feels a little fortune cookie-ish, but to be honest, that's an American invention anyway. So this is what I came up with. All right. If you're waking up at 3 a.m., it means your soul is enhancing spiritually and you are moving forward in the spiritual world. Your sensitivity has increased and you're able to feel other energies. Apparently, if you do wake up at 3 a.m., you should get right up and meditate. It's like the last thing on my brain to do at 3 a.m. It really is. And it says that if you do this, you're the closest to a time when you can really go, like, I call it leveling up with your subconscious mind, which again can lead to more access maybe with your third eye, right? Other dimensions. But if you're not, if you're not doing, say, any kind of spiritual journey, or you're not meditating, like me, it can also be just a time where maybe a departed loved one or someone who cared about you or a well-wisher just wants to give you a message and is going to keep coming at you until you either acknowledge the message or understand the message. So, I mean, it's take it for what it's worth, right? It's just information. I'm just putting it out there in the ether. So another interesting, but kind of the darker side of 3, is the superstition of the knocking, the 3 knocks. Okay. It says that if you hear 3 knocks that seemingly come from nowhere, or like has no cause or root, you can't figure out where it came from, it means that someone may die. Now, it doesn't necessarily specifies that it would be someone dies, but if you believe in this superstition and then you hear something about someone either that or that you know of that has died, and you correlate these two things, right? The superstition plus because you're obviously paying more attention to if you hear the news of someone dying, that's actually called confirmation bias. So you're making the superstition true for yourself, right? And also it's been said, bad things happen in 3s, right? It could happen in 3 days, 3 months, 3 weeks, something like that. But it also, on a high note, and I want to end with that, is that it also, good things happen in 3s. If you put it out into the world, you get 3 back. Like, so say you put out positivity into the world and kindness, you will get that 3-fold back. So I choose to believe that. I think that that's a really nice way to think about it, and it's a very powerful, as I've told you, I mean, all these things mean so much to different people in different cultures. And I actually even use it in my videos and didn't even realize it. I kind of sat back and went, what's that all about? And I meant it. I didn't even realize I was doing it. And that's how easy you end up walking right into 3s everywhere, pattern. But if you like this video, I would ask you to like, subscribe, and comment, right? And until next week, when we do another episode about something, I don't know, look for my shorts. I'll be sending them out because I have a lot of fun doing those. But until next week, I hope you're happy, healthy. Well, happy and healthy, that's one. And stay weird and take care. Thanks for stopping by.